Hey, Andy, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's been a minute. What have you been up to? Tell everybody that has heard you, I think, last maybe 2 years ago. It's
Wow,
insane.
yeah. 2 years flies pretty well. Yeah, the last couple of years I have been honing this, solopreneur thing of mine,
Yeah.
working for myself as a full-time business owner and trying to figure out the right mix of how much I want to work and how much I want to spend on my other identities like, dad and husband and athlete and son. So I'm trying to balance those things and it's been a
Mhm.
lot of fun over the past couple of years learning the type of person I want, a type of person I want to be as well as like what my ideal week looks like.
Has that evolved too since you've become self-employed? I would imagine it's shifted.
Yeah, absolutely. In the beginning of my journey, I was so excited and prideful about building a business that would
Yeah.
grow and have it be something that could maybe be something my kids would work on in the future. So I left my corporate job and I said, "Hey, let's put in the same amount of hours you were doing there or even more. So
Hmm.
40, 50 hours, let's grow this thing." And then I also had all these other ideas about who I wanted to be. Like I mentioned, a good father, a good husband, an athlete, be there to volunteer in your community, Andy, like do all these things. And then I quickly realized like there's not that many hours in the week for me to do all these things. So if I said to myself, well, what's got to give then in order for me to do these other things as well as be a good worker? Well, I could just decrease the amount of hours worked in a
Mhm.
week so that I can have a variety in my life and have these multiple identities. But that also means, hey, you're going to make a little bit of less money. So, how can you figure out how to continue to grow your income as
Mhm.
well as decrease the amount of hours worked? So, that became my journey from year one to like,
Nice.
I'm in probably year six now of doing this solopreneur thing.
Isn't that crazy?
It is
6 years
crazy because you and
now?
I have known each other for 10 of those,
Yeah.
10 years.
Actually,
And
yes.
you know where I started. So,
It's wild to
yeah.
see how fast time flies. Like that's depressing on its own, but it's also really cool to see how you have been able to build your business and still continue the podcast, Marriage, Kids, and Money. You're still doing like work that from the outside appears that you still enjoy, which is huge.
I love it. I really
I
do.
love it too. So tell me a little bit about like work schedule, not when you're writing a book.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah.
that look like? Like, are you Monday through Friday? Like, how are you structuring your day?
Yeah, my ideal work week, when things are going well, when I'm not writing a book, is I work Tuesday through Thursday.
Mhm.
And I have now gotten myself an office space outside of my house because I was working at home for the past 5 years and I loved that. I really did. I always desired that outside of my corporate life, but I did find at home I was a bit distracted with the other things that go on at home. My wife's there on Wednesdays on her day off, and we start with coffee, and then a couple hours roll by. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't gotten anything done.
Yeah.
And I also get distracted with, the kids come home. I want to help them, make some food, talk to them about their day. I just know that if I'm going to say, hey, you're only going to work 3 days a week, you better work on those 3 days a week. Otherwise, you're not going to grow your business. So, and then Mondays, Fridays, and the weekends, I try to leave open for the other portions of my life, the other
Yeah.
identities that I want to have. I want to continue to take care of my health. So I focus on that a lot on Mondays and Fridays. And then early in the mornings before I start my work week, Monday's really my wife has the day off, so I spend the day with her. We go for a run, we go to the gym together, we go for lunch. We just spend some time together as a couple when the kids aren't home, which can be, tough for couples and parents because you got together originally because you loved each other and the magic was there. And it's like, I mean, I love my kids, but they can be all encompassing. So if you don't
Oh,
have
for
that
sure.
set aside time for your relationship, it's important. So yeah, I try to do that on Mondays, and then Fridays I try to catch up with friends. I try to volunteer a little bit, and
Hmm.
then leave my weekends open for whatever life brings.
I love that. And I love too that your life has been a series of financial decisions to get you to this point, which I assume is partially kind of what led you to own your time into writing this book. So let's talk about it. So why did you write this specific book? Why now? What was the compelling reason why?
Yeah, I will be honest with you. Somebody approached me and said, will you write a book about all the things you've been talking about on your
Yeah.
podcast for the past 10 years? And I was so pleased that they asked me to do that. I said, "Oh yes, I love talking about this stuff." As you said, you still seem like you're genuinely enjoying it. I am. I love creating the podcast. I like interviewing people. I like learning. So the fact that somebody asked me to put it into book form, and I always admire all these authors that I've had on my show, and I'm like, that's so cool to put it into
Mhm.
a book and really encompass it. So it was an honor for me, and I said yes, and I'm. It was very difficult though to say, okay, 10 years worth of content, 10 years worth of advice and interviews. How do you boil that down to 200 to 300 pages? It became
Mhm.
a fun challenge, though. It was one of those things that I was like challenging myself with goals and
Mhm.
intentions for the year, and this was one of those. So they approached me, I went for it, and over the last year, created it and about to launch it on January 21st. So I'm super excited.
Is it like Christmas morning for you? Are you anxious? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Like, what are
It
the feelings?
It kind of is, and if you know me, you've probably heard this in the past, Whitney. I like celebrating things. I like to
For
have big
sure.
moments when you do stuff. And
For
so
sure.
part of the reason I wanted to do it is because I wanted to throw a book launch party. So I've already I've already booked the venue. I've got like
Amazing.
50 to 100 of my friends and family coming and just kind of make a
Oh, that's
moment out
great.
of it and like toast. And, I like throwing parties. I like having good events because honestly, that's what I see happiness in life is
Yeah.
connection with friends and family and creating space and autonomy to do those things. So if the book can be a catalyst to that, I'm using a lot of my book advance money to do it, but I don't care because that's what money's for. And
Yeah.
I'm just looking forward to
You're
that.
like, I
So
didn't make a penny, but this is great.
exactly. I'm blowing it
having
all.
having a
Absolutely.
fun time.
Talking about a financial guru, talking about blowing all his money.
Right, totally.
Absolutely.
You're
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna
Right.
throw a party. Hear me out.
Exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, so let's dive into the book. I have gone through quite a bit of it, and you've did a really good job of really putting together 10 steps that people can kind of follow. And for simplicity's sake, we're not going to go through all 10 steps,
Yep.
but there are like five that really piqued my interest. And the
Yeah.
first step that I thought was so good to begin with that I appreciate you started the book there was defining the life you want to live. Let's talk about why did you start with that step and why do you feel like that's so important?
Yeah, I started with that step because I made a mistake in my process and didn't start with that step, and I,
Mm,
I regretted it. I started with financial goals,
mhm,
monetary goals, debt freedom, net worth growth, savings rate, my FI number, stuff like that, because I thought, okay, I'm a numbers focused, goal focused person. This could be motivating. But to what end, though? When you
mhm,
become debt free, what changes at that point? I know a lot of people, at least for me, when I hit these goals, sometimes it's neat in the moment, but
mhm.
then there's like a slight depression, a little bit, being like, oh, that's it.
Now
That
what?
now what, right? And so looking back, I wish that I would have started with defining the life that I want to have so that these financial goals will help me move in that direction. It's like setting my intention to say, okay, if success to me means owning more of my week so that I am
Mhm.
present to be there for my kids and my wife and take care of my health, then that is the goal. That's the definition, not debt freedom, not, 100K net worth or not financial independence. Because I think you and I have talked to a lot of people over the years that just because you retire or you early retire or you
Mhm.
become debt free doesn't equate to happiness. Sometimes people actually get more sad because they
Yeah.
lose an identity. They owned that identity of worker or they owned that identity of investor. And then when they hit that mark, they're like, oh, actually, I just lost an identity. I didn't
Yeah.
invest in other forms of life to feel like, oh, this is who I am as a sole person. Because this concept of going from work to retirement is just another word for worker, really. Like I went from worker to retired. So you're now defining yourself as a retiree. That, again, that's work, though. It's like, what
Yeah.
else do you want to do in life? So for me, I think doing this personally is important. That can be taking some time, 5, 10 minutes, writing down what your ideal week looks like.
Mhm.
What goals do you have or intentions? Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? These big goals can be very helpful for people to write them down. And then that motivates you to do those
Mhm.
important financial steps to move you. Some people have difficulty with dreaming and goals and
For
things
sure
like
they
that.
do.
But an exercise that I like to challenge people with is Pretend you went to your mailbox and you found a $5 million check in there written out to you, to Whitney
Hmm.
Hansen. And there's no strings attached. It's not a crypto scam or anything like that. And you don't have to pay any taxes. It's like $5,000 in your account. I'm sorry, $5 million in your account. So it's a life-changing amount of money, $5
Sure.
million. Dollars. What is the first thing that you stop doing tomorrow? So this can
Mm.
be more around what do you want to subtract from your life because you
Yeah,
have that financial security. And to some people out there, that might be like, man, I would quit my soul sucking job right away and I would say, peace, I'm out of here.
for
And some
sure.
people might say, well, I actually like what I do. I just do it too many hours in my week. It's
Yeah.
like 50, 60, 70 hours. It kind of consumes my life. Okay. These are really great
Mhm.
answers to that
Mhm.
question. Or I hate doing laundry or whatever it ends up being. It's like, okay, that's cool. Is that a goal of yours then to say, okay, how can money help with you moving in the direction of the life that you want to live? So you do that personally, right? And then if you're married to somebody, you ask them to do the same thing and and try to learn about their goals and motivations. Then together you can go on this path for your shared family financial goals, your family
Mhm.
goals, and support each other on the path. And that's why I like that first step.
I love that you mentioned this too, because I could see some situations where maybe we're doing this exercise separately and I have my version and Tony
Yeah.
does his, and I'm like, what the hell? Yours is so out of whack. Like, we're not even on the same page. Is there, is that kind of the intention, is to try to find some compromise with this, or is it normal to
Yeah.
be slightly different?
I would say after 16 years of marriage, my favorite word is compromise. Absolutely. It's
Has
they
to be.
in this Netflix series I was just watching with my daughter, Stranger Things. You've probably heard of Stranger Things.
Oh
Everybody's
yeah,
heard of
for
Stranger
sure.
Things. What's his name? Hopper calls it halfway happy. So it's like compromise, halfway happy, right?
You're halfway happy.
But it's so true. It's like, okay, we might not do all the things that Andy desires, and we might not do all the things that Nicole desires,
Right.
but could we help each other get pretty far along on both of our desires? Yeah, we probably could, and find some middle ground that will support it. And I know that my wife and I, we came to a head on some of those things in our
Surely.
relationship.
Yeah.
I had this fire goal, traditional fire. I'm going to save as much and invest as much as possible so I can get out of this corporate job that bothers me so much. It is consuming my brain and all my time. My
Hmm.
only way out is through with so much investment.
Hmm.
And my wife's at home with two kids as a stay at home mom. And she's looking at me being like, bro, you're talking about more deprivation and more like cutting spending. And I'm already staying at home. I don't see a lot of people here. I need to get out of
Yeah.
the house more. And you're talking about less, less, less. That sounds horrible. And so
Yeah.
my goal and her goal were like,
Surely.
and so it led us having some major money fights, which was very difficult in our relationship. And we got some support from some marriage counseling during that time. And at that time, I felt like a complete failure. It felt like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be a
Mm.
good husband. I'm supposed to be able to figure this stuff out. And we went to marriage counseling, and I demanded I have it wrong. Marriage counseling was fantastic for us. It helped us to carve out individual time, 1 hour, because that's what we were poisoning our relationship with was no time to talk
Hmm.
specifically about this stuff. We had two little kids, crazy jobs. There was no time. And so that hour with our marriage counselor actually gave us time to speak with each other, hear each other, actually listen, not just
Hmm.
prepare to say what we want to say, actually listen, empathize, and then find that compromise, that halfway happy. And we ended up doing that. We ended up finding things that allowed me to be able to say goodbye to this corporate career a lot sooner and with a lot less pain than we planned. And then me letting go of the gas a little bit so we can enjoy more life today. And
Hmm.
that's where we found some great compromise with some other strategies outside of the traditional fire movement for sure.
That, I mean, it's good advice too, to also hear that it's not necessarily something that you may have the answers to. And sometimes you do need to have those like guided, carved out time sessions where you can start to talk to each other in a healthy, nice way, hopefully, about, their differences of opinion or different lifestyles. I think that's a really important point. And I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it does sometimes seem from the outside that people are like, man, they just got it together. Like they are on the same page. And it's nice to hear that, like, no, actually, sometimes you do have to kind of struggle through this. So it is helpful.
Absolutely. And I think there's some unfortunate stigma around marriage counseling where it seems like, okay, this
There
is the leading
is.
leading to the end, but it's actually it's
Yeah.
the opposite. It's like a physical trainer or something like that at the gym. It's
Right.
like, hey, you need some help in order to make this stuff happen. Yeah, get a third party to help you along. Maybe you
Right.
don't know how to communicate in this fashion because you've never done it before, or there's no playbook on marriage. It's like, okay, let's have somebody who knows how to do this help us out. And it was the best 9 months that we spent, and a great investment for our marriage for sure.
That's awesome. I mean, 9 months is it's a good amount of time too
Yeah,
to start to learn how to have these types of conversations.
absolutely.
I think that's a good one. So define the life you want to live. If someone's single listening in, that's probably a little bit more
Sure.
straightforward,
Yeah.
do the exercise. Do you still recommend if someone is single that they still communicate that with somebody else? Is that not necessary? Is it just tuck it in your brain?
I love public proclamation, whether
Okay.
that is with a friend that you trust or a family member that you trust,
Hmm.
because that holds you accountable to those
Yeah.
goals. Not only, sometimes we keep things internally and then it never comes to fruition, but if you publicly proclaim it with a friend or a group of people that you feel confident in
Yeah.
speaking that with, that can be really great. And I know sometimes people have communities, like you have communities where you can actually share those types of things. That can be helpful, because you're putting it out there into the world. You're
Yeah.
verbalizing it, and then you want to move forward on it.
Yeah. Okay. So we're starting with defining the life we want to live. We get our vision, our dream. And then the second step that I think is such a great marriage to this is embracing the debt-free life. Okay, tell me about this because you've got a cool debt-free story. If someone hasn't heard that, can you give us like the gist of your debt-free story?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when my wife and I got together, we were in our late 20s and we were making good money together. I think we were
Mhm.
making like $130,000 combined. Before I got married with her, I
Nice.
was making like 60. So when I married her, it was like all of a sudden we've doubled our money. And man, did we have fun. We went out, we partied, we got the dinners, we went to the concerts because it's this courting stage. We're having a good time. We want to spend a lot of time together and enjoy ourselves. And we had that 130K and we were spending it, each year. And that was fine. We had a good time. I don't really regret it all that much. But when we learned that we were going to be parents, something kind of clicked in our brains where we're like, all right, we're not living for today and we're not just taking care of ourselves. We got a little girl coming into the world and we want to give her a better shot at life
Hmm.
than we had. And what are some of the things that we can do to do that? And so for me, it became financial. I said, okay,
Yep.
what can I do to learn more about this stuff? I've always been interested in money. I know investing is smart, but I don't know a lot about that. Let me figure this out. And I think at the time I was watching that Susie Orman show. I think it was on CNBC. She had a
Yes.
segment called How Am I Doing? Where people would like bring all their financial life to her and then she'd rip them to shreds and give them a A to F grade. And, I was watching it and they would talk about this term net worth, net worth, net worth. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure our net worth is huge because we make $130,000. That's a lot of money.
Hmm.
And we decided to write our net worth on this big whiteboard in our guest room, assets on one side and liabilities on the other. And lo and behold, we did not have a gigantic net worth. We had a negative $50,000 net worth. We owed a lot more than we owned, and that was really the math problem. And it was a eye-opening moment. We're like, oh man, we're making six figures plus, but we have negative $50,000 as our
Yeah.
net worth. That is not a position of strength. If we want to do better for our daughter and give her a great life, this is a great place to start. And a big part of that negative amount was the student loans that I owed for my master's degree
Hmm.
and the $20,000 car loan that we had for our luxury car that we didn't need in our 20s. But these are the trappings of life that we thought we needed. I thought I needed a master's degree in order to make more money in my corporate career. We thought we needed a luxury car to look good in our neighborhood and the clothes and the things like that that went along with it. Over time, we learned that those were sometimes trappings for a reason. They're called that. because you
Right.
feel trapped by them. So we got inspired. We said, okay, well, this seems like a good place to start. If our goal is to give our daughter a better life, that is a good, define the life you want to live. We want to be good parents. We want to give her a good strategy, a good opportunity at life. And then for me, that's when I made that sort of failure move where I'm like, all right, I've learned all about this. Let's get debt free. And Nicole, in order to do that, we're going to have to get rid of that luxury car and spend less money, and it'll be easy. And then we'll become debt free. What do you think about that? And I remember she came in from work pregnant, walking in from
Oh
her,
no.
busy day at work where clients were yelling at her with her like, laptop bag, just looking excited. Of course, I like caught her right at the door with my big idea, not even letting her relax for the day. And I
Right.
just remember she like looked at me like blank stare, like, what are you even talking about? Just kind of like walked by. And I'm
She's
like,
like, I ain't
what?
got
This is
time for this.
genius. Exactly. This is a genius idea. I've read some books. I've watched some videos, and this is so smart. What are you talking about? And then I realized I didn't think about it from her perspective. Again, like she is in a situation where she doesn't like her job. She's
Hmm.
pregnant, and she's already verbally said to me, like, I would love to work part time or eventually be a
Yeah.
stay at home mom when she comes into the world. Like, how do we make that happen? And I went at her with numbers as opposed to, hey, I know you want to eventually stay at home with Zoe when she comes into the world.
Hmm.
Here's an idea of how to make that happen. Would you be open to meeting on a monthly basis to talk about how we can make that happen? Not for a life of deprivation, but for a way for us to move from where we're feeling uncomfortable today to a little bit more comfort. Would that be good? Yeah. And then she kind of opened up and said, yeah, let's do that. But don't make it too nerdy with your spreadsheets. Like, let's have fun. So
Can't
we would have
guarantee it,
pizza.
man.
Exactly right. I mean, I love some spreadsheets. I love my
Me too.
budgets and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where we opened up and we started that journey and we started to look at the numbers and see what was coming in. And we had good income coming in. So really, we were blessed to be in a good income situation at that time. So for us, we started looking at things like, okay, where are we kind of wasting money a little bit? Okay, she's pregnant. We're probably not going to be going out and partying as much. That'll be able to save a little bit on our entertainment budget. We might have to say no a little bit more to friends and family. And that can be hard
Hmm.
for a lot of people to do because it's so fun to get together with your friends and family, and that's important. So are there other areas where we can save? Can we sell some things on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist in order to, get rid of some stuff in our house that has
Hmm.
value and that can bring in $500 here, $1,000 there? We started looking at things like that as opportunities to, you know cut that debt and not kill our joy a little bit. So
Yeah.
those became areas of exploration, maybe looking at different ways for us to shop for groceries that weren't uber convenient, but hey, we can look a little bit at grocery stores like Aldi to say, okay, this is the same stuff we're getting anyway, but it's like, it's a major price difference. And this won't really affect our happiness all that much. Is this just more of a glamour thing to say, I want to go to Whole Foods or I want to go to these other things? So I think looking at those areas, it became an opportunity for us to say, what can we do to eliminate this debt? And we chipped away at it. We chipped away at it and paid that 50K off in about 12 months just by this deliberate
Well
action
done.
together, increasing our income, decreasing our expenses, and making it happen. So
That's incredible. And then I know people that are in the midst of this or maybe
yeah,
considering starting the debt-free journey. I hear you when you say it's not deprivation, but sometimes they're like, no, but it actually is,
yeah,
like truly.
I hear
So
you.
is there like any like silver lining to that? Like did you or Nicole ever feel that way when you were paying off debt?
Yeah, you know what? It's never like, okay, here is an opportunity for sunshine and rainbows while you're paying off your debt. I kind of liken it to running, where my wife and I
Yeah.
like to run. I'm not going to tell you that first mile or that first opportunity for you to get off the couch and run around the blocks a few times is going to be fun. But that feeling that you have after you've
Mhm.
accomplished a goal, the feeling that you have after you get that dopamine hit from finishing that mile and then exceeding your time is what is exciting. So that journey of debt freedom
Mhm.
became more fun over time because we did something together as a couple and we felt like we could hold each other accountable and celebrate the goals together. Yeah, investigating a less convenient way to buy groceries, no, and that's not a lot. That's not a lot of fun. Investigating getting a triple bid on your homeowner's insurance and your auto insurance to make sure you're getting the best deal. No, not fun, but gratifying when you
Yes.
see that your debt number is moving from $50,000 to $0. And it offers opportunities for celebration along the way too. So when we
Stop.
would, it, when you get to that 50,000 and then you get to 40,000, it's like, okay, take time and money to
Mhm.
celebrate that a little bit. So you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I am feeling excited to continue moving forward. We're doing something really cool. Have some fun with it too. Like get a
Mhm.
goal thermometer and put it on the
Those are fun.
wall. It's fun. It's like a visual reminder of where
Yeah,
you're going. And if you have kids, and get them involved in the process too, because it is fun for you to track it together
it's true.
and they're then watching you do something really cool that's positive for your future, ergo learning how to do it themselves. And it can be great.
And there's no accountability like kids. My
Absolutely.
heavens, right? You know this. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Charlotte's not old enough to hold me accountable yet, not to that kind of stuff, but I've seen my nieces and nephews when you say you have a goal, and if you're like, oh, I'm not really going to be spending money on eating out or coffee, and then you walk in with a coffee, they're like, wait a second, I thought you're like, you're right. Like they for sure will hold you accountable.
Kids will call you out as a hypocrite real fast. It's something in adulthood where we've kind of learned to close our mouth and be like, oh, yeah, but we're thinking it. But kids will
For
say
sure.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. So true. And with your debt payoff, do you have a preferred strategy? Avalanche, snowball? Like do you care either way? Like what do you generally recommend?
I think that for most people, the snowball makes sense because we need those psychological quick wins. If you're very math focused and you really want to hit those numbers, then yeah, do the avalanche because that will keep you motivated. Some people just are so fixated on the numbers that saying, okay, why would I not pay off that super high interest rate of that one?
Right.
I should really handle that. That's fine. There's no right or wrong answer. I even have another one that I like to call the debt hatred method. It's
I
like
love
if
this
you
one.
if you got a debt from some, let's call it like a past bad relationship or something like that, and somehow you got stuck with it, you're gonna
Yeah.
want to pay that one off first, no matter the balance or the interest rate, or
Absolutely.
a student loan that you got from a school that, oh man, the school doesn't even exist anymore, but you still have to pay the interest on the loan somehow. It's like you're gonna want to pay that bad boy off. So just lean into what feels right.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're into the math, avalanche. If you're into realizing that psychology has a lot to do with this money stuff, then that snowball is probably the best way to go.
I do want to touch on this too, because I think this is another one of your steps. But since we're talking about debt payoff, you actually paid off your mortgage, which was highly controversial. Last time you were on the podcast, we talked about this.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was so comical that there was so much interest in, like, well, how, why? I don't understand why you would do such a thing. But tell us a little bit about, when you guys were making the decision as well to pay off your mortgage, why did that come up?
Yeah, this became again focusing on our family specific goal of Nicole moving from full time corporate worker
Hmm.
to full time stay at home mom. And this was a goal of ours as a family. So, in order to do that, it really helped for us to decrease our overall household expenses.
Yeah.
And what is the largest piece of most people's household expenses? Their mortgage or their rent. So if we could completely eliminate our mortgage and never have to pay that again, how much easier would it be for us to live just on one income? And
Hmm.
that was the reason that we did it. Was it a financially optimal reason? No, it was a 3% mortgage, but it moved our expenses from something like $8,000 per
Hmm.
month to $6,000 per month. And wow, that made it so much easier for us to complete all these other financial goals, as well as for my wife to say goodbye to her 9 to 5 for a period of about 5 years during our kids'
Nice.
primitive growth years. So it was very good family decision. If I had to do it all over again, and what I do recommend for people now is to, yes, pay off your consumer debt, that higher interest debt, and then move aggressively into investing for
Yeah.
coast fire.
Okay.
And then after you've achieved coast fire, then I would say go for that low interest, pay off that low
Well, it's
interest
like you're
mortgage.
reading my mind. I was going to ask you next. One of the steps that I loved
Yeah.
was investing for Coast Fire. So
Hmm.
tell us about this. This is not a new concept, but for a lot of people, it's a new to them concept. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about like what is Coast Fire?
Sure.
Why did you decide to go this path? Like give us some behind the scenes there.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to pursue it is because of a lot of the conversations I had in my halfway happy compromise moment after marriage therapy. I was super into this fire movement, and for people who don't understand the fire movement, it's essentially like saving and investing aggressively so that you can have so much that you can just pull a little bit out each year and live on that in, forever. So that's like early retirement. Like, wow, I've saved so much. For us, that became so difficult, even with our
Mm,
higher income, to do with two people as well as two kids. It was just one of those things where I'm like, man, I am pushing down the wrong path and I can feel it in my relationship. Do I want to early retire and then not have a spouse to actually hang out with
right,
in early
exactly.
retirement? Or do I want to find some middle ground that will work best for us? So, in my investigation, I found out there's also other versions of this financial independence movement that are a little bit more palatable for folks like me who have two kids and then just don't want to live a life of extreme frugality or deprivation. And for me, I learned about Coast Fire. And so Coast Fire, essentially the tenets of that is yes, still save and invest, but not as aggressive and not
Mhm.
as lax as somebody who's saying, let me just invest for traditional retirement and I'll invest,
Mm,
I'll retire in my 60s or 70s. This is saving and investing, call it like a 30% savings rate, something like that.
okay.
And then you get to a point where your investments will grow with time and compound interest by themselves without any further contributions and still get you to that 2 million or 1.5 million or 3 million or whatever your retirement goal is without any further contributions. So for us, the math turned out to be us saving and investing about $500,000 in our
Okay.
traditional retirement accounts, call that 401k, Roth IRA, things like that, even
Mhm.
HSA, and then using a compound interest calculator to say, okay, what if we did not put anything else in there at all? What would it potentially turn into in 20 years? And for us, that calculation was around 2 million bucks. And that was
Just
plenty,
awesome.
plenty for us based on our lifestyle in retirement. So that was a big realization point for us being
Hmm.
like, okay, well, if we don't have to save and invest that 30%, or at points it was closer to 40 or 50% when Andy was super intense. What if we what else would we do with that money? Could we, lean more back into experiences with family and
Hmm.
friends and enjoy our life more in the now? Yes. Could we
Hmm.
also maybe like work less because we don't need as much money to live? We were making around $180,000 but living on like 90, so
Which is great.
so could we just work the half amount of time? And so those were big epiphany moments for us. And so that's what we decided to do. We went from saving and investing upwards of 50%
Yeah.
to 10% and progressively made that decision to move downwards. And honestly, the math around Coast Fire is amazing. We stopped contributing. We slowly, progressively, stopped
Hmm.
contributing, but we haven't really added anything in there for 4 years. And that balance of $500,000 is now closer to $900,000
That's
just with the
wild.
market doing its thing and
Yeah.
us not participating. So yes, it's been a great market over the past 5 years, and it's not typical. But even if we were just to experience a regular
Hmm.
average 10% return, it's still going to move us in the direction of getting towards that $2 million by the time we're in our 60s. So
Which is
it's a pretty
incredible.
magical thing. I really think it is.
I think it is too. Oh, I think it's a more, like you said, palatable
Yeah.
idea. It's not quite as like far-fetched. It's not quite as wait till you're 65. Like it feels like a happy compromise. And
Yeah.
I'm also glad you touched on this because sometimes I know people hear this and they hear Coast Fire, get as much as you can, get to a point where you're not, quote unquote, killing yourself trying to get to that number. And then once you hit it, I think it's interesting. So do you foresee yourself continuing to contribute or like are you truly done contributing? Like how do you approach that?
Yeah. At this point in my life, I wanted to focus on creating a happy life in the here and now.
Okay.
And then once I created that happy life, both for my wife and I, then hey, if we have extra money after that, that's cool. Then maybe I'll
Gotcha.
go back to investing, with tax advantages and things like that, and maybe even retire earlier than 60. But
Sure.
I think that at least I did, and some people do, delay happiness today for potential happiness in the future.
Yeah.
And then they arrive there, and then they're slightly disappointed that they maybe worked so hard or invested so much because it's not really that different, or maybe even potentially worse because they've lost that
Yeah.
identity. So I think it's important for us to find our version of happiness as early as possible
Hmm.
and work on that. And then once you find that comfortable life, then yeah, sure, make more money, grow, that's fine, as long as it fits within the bounds of that comfortable life. So I surely hope to make a lot more money in my 3-day work week.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I still have enough money to live and enjoy my life. If I make more, yeah, I probably will invest more. Maybe help with my
Right.
kids' generational wealth and their future. Maybe retire even earlier so that I can be there for them when they need me more in my 50s. But I don't know. I really like my life right now. So it's not like I want to retire from anything. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
I
Like,
do.
oh, retire early from what? I don't know. I like my life. So I think that was the goal.
I really like that too, because I think for a lot of people, that's the element of fire that was a big miss for so many is
Yeah.
we were focusing so much on the people that hated their jobs, and there's plenty
Mhm.
of them out there, but there's
Sure.
also a huge portion of people that do like what they do, and
Yeah,
they look at it and they're like, oh man, I don't want to retire early. I like this. And so I
absolutely.
do like that Coast-Fi is like a happy blend of that. That seems too that would be a lot more maybe easier to get your partner on board with, of this idea of like, hey, we're going to be a little aggressive, but not to the same degree.
I think if you're married or if you're thinking about having kids or you have kids, Coast Fire is the best form of financial independence to consider.
I think
If
so
you're
too.
single and you make a boatload of money, good on you. Like, yeah,
Do
you don't
it.
want to spend it all. That's good. That's a healthy way to live. I mean, if you make
Sure.
$300,000, you don't need to spend $300,000. Like, yeah, save and invest half of that. Good for you.
Yeah.
And, have the option to retire early. But if there's other people that you rely on in your life and you have to find your version of compromise to make that work, and there's
Yeah.
other, children in your life or other things that you want to do, then yeah, Coast Fire is a good way to go.
I think so too. The other portion that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned as a step in your book is the 3-day work week. And you kind of alluded to this. For so many people, that seems like a Tim Ferriss pie in the sky dream. But tell us a little bit about like how did you like stumble into the 3-day work week and why is it 3 days?
Yeah, I have thought about the traditional work week for a while. If you think
Yeah.
about it, there's 7 days, right? And 5 of them we're working, and 2 of them we're relaxing and enjoying ourselves. Surely the workers didn't come up with that idea. You know what I mean?
Imagine.
Imagine, right? So, what is if you really had all of the options in the world and you did enjoy working at some point and you enjoy, putting some good service out into the world, what would be
Mhm.
your ideal work week? I asked myself and I said, well, I think it should be flipped. I think it should be flipped that we're enjoying and relaxing more than we are working. And so
Mhm.
I said, oh, well, what could I do to create a 3-day work week and a 4-day weekend? And so my wife and I have both been experimenting with that for the past 3 or 4 years now. She works Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at her esthetician job,
Mhm.
and I am working Tuesday through Thursday as a family finance coach, financial educator. And do we religiously always keep to the 3 days? Not always, but that's our main thing. So some days she'll take an extra shift or whatever, and I'll, some
Mhm.
days, oh, I'm writing a book. I need to work on Mondays a little bit, I need to work on Fridays. But most of the time, it is that 3-day work week so that we can leave our weekends wide open for new opportunities that come up, go
Mhm.
visit family, be able to say yes on a Friday easily, things like that. But that didn't start that way. When I left
Right.
my corporate career, like I said, I was working frenetically to try to do everything, and I was working 5 days a week. But I saw that, hey, wouldn't it be cool to move in that direction to create more of that time freedom for the other things that I want to do in my life, the other identities that I want to have? And
Mhm.
my wife definitely felt the same too. She doesn't want to wear the badge of 100% worker like all the time. She wants to do other things, and I admire
Mhm.
that. And she's a good reminder to me that life is for living.
Do you feel like, Andy, could you have done the 3-day work week if you still had the mortgage?
Mm. At this point, well, I would say it would have been a little bit more difficult both psychologically and
Yeah,
financially in 2020 when I took the leap. So when I left, I had validation that my side hustle could make money
for
and I had
sure.
a contract moving into 2020 being like, okay, somebody's going to pay me a good amount of money to keep doing what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And I have no debt. I have Coast Fire. I have no mortgage
Right.
and I have a 12-month bucket of FU money to help me kind of bridge
Yeah.
that gap. So though I think the financial confidence piece that went into those things, being debt free, no mortgage, coast fire, and having a 12-month bucket of cash to even if I mess up, was the confidence that I needed to be able to say goodbye. So that was psychological. Could I have done it? Yeah, probably could have.
Yeah.
So in that case, if I were to give that advice to anybody else, I would say those things will provide you the financial confidence to say goodbye and just listen to your own intuition. Do you feel like, oh, I'm ready to do this. I have so much passion, I have so much fire around it, and I have some, money set aside, even if I completely mess up like an FU money thing. You don't need to be mortgage free to do that then, like that's
True.
okay. Go for it.
True.
You don't need to do all of those steps to step out. I would say the main thing to do though is to have that validation that somebody's actually going to pay you money to do your side hustle, not just a pie in the sky idea that thinks you think is really neat.
Yeah.
And oh man, I really have to say, like, at least 6 to 12 months of expenses in a runway. I like 12
Hmm.
months
12 is good,
to make
especially as an
to
entrepreneur.
yeah, as an entrepreneur trying something new. Now, if you were transitioning into like part-time work at your current job or even freelance or contract work with your skill set in an industry that you already know well, maybe you don't need a whole 12 months, but I moved from like corporate event marketing sales guy to full-time podcaster. So I'm like, oh man, you better have 12 months of expenses because that's a completely new shift, man. So to answer your question, maybe. I don't think you need to do all those things, but the more of them that you do, the more confident you would be in making that transition.
Yeah, there becomes like a turning point where it just makes sense
Yeah.
that you can take that risk and it doesn't feel quite as scary or as heavy. And I do think that is an important thing to strive for. And it does take time too. Like I hope that people listening into this, we're distilling all of your life lessons in, an hour.
Yeah.
And for people listening, it's like, no, this actually takes like decades for most people. Like it is not a short, quick, easy thing. Like it's a long-term game for sure.
Yeah, this story that we've got just gone through is about 15 years.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
from age 28 to what was it, 43. I just turned 44, but yeah, about 15 years.
I'm glad you said that too, because people are always like, well, what are you, 52? And like, you retired
Yeah.
10 years early. Good for you. But no, like you're in your 40s, man. Like
Yeah,
you still
yeah,
have a
yeah. I
lot of
mean,
life
and
to live.
and when we pulled the trigger, I was 38. So it's
That's incredible.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been a fun journey.
I mean, it's been fun to watch too, but it is always like one of those things where during the journey, it never feels great all the time. And then when you look back, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and it's great to have a partner that did it alongside with me, and I think that also gave me confidence in the
Mhm.
path that I had somebody to pat me on the back and say, hey, let's do this together. You're not alone.
Mhm.
So if you don't have that person, like you're saying, you mentioned single audience, it's good to have
Mhm.
a accountability partner, a friend that you can lean on
Yeah.
that believes in you, that can see you along on the path too.
I have to touch on this too, because you did mention stockpiling your FU money, your
Yeah.
big your giant emergency fund. Logistically, where do you keep that fund? Do you have any preferences? Like give us
Yeah,
the
this
deets
is
there.
this is straight cash. You have to have it liquid and available, not invested. I like a high yield savings account because you get a
Mhm.
little bit more for your money, and it's also just far enough away from your checking and regular savings account that you won't
Yes.
spend it. Even some of these companies even have the ability to like label your account. I would put a name on it so you know that it's specifically for your FU money fund. Ally has the buckets. This other
Hmm.
company that I like, Crew, has these pockets where you can specifically write the name on them. I think that's very important to deliberately and intentionally say it on there. But yeah, it's as simple as your debt-free journey.
Hmm.
Okay, the amount of money that you're paying at your debt, man, when you're done with that, okay, can you convert that into saving that amount over and over again
Right.
where you can build that up? And it took us some time, it took us some years to do it. But again, there's nothing quite that gives you that confidence, like a bunch of money in the bank to
Oh my
say,
God,
oh my
right?
gosh, this is, I've got, even if I totally mess this up, I
Yeah.
have enough money to pay for my life and my family and keep moving forward. So, yeah, simple as putting it in a high yield savings account. And I know you're all about those.
Love them too. And
Yeah.
I think this is a good way to kind of wrap up. So I definitely think everybody should pick up the book. It's very practical. It's got good stories in it. Like it's a very good book for most people, whether you're super analytical or you need more of the narrative. It's both in there. And so
Mhm.
there's a lot of steps we didn't touch on and are very important. So you have to go check it out. You have to read it. Where does everybody get a copy of the book? Like, is there a preferred place?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a week before launch right now, and we are working on our pre-order goal of 500 books. And I think we're around like 200, 250. So I'm really excited about that goal. If you want to support us by checking it out on Amazon specifically, Own Your Time by Andy Hill, you can find it on there and help us to reach our goal. That'd be great. And then it'll arrive in your house in just 1 week.
Which is so exciting.
Yeah.
I'm pumped to hear about your party too. This will be great.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're hosting it at a foaling warehouse. Have you ever heard of foaling? It's like football
No.
bowling. So you have a
Oh,
football in your
sweet.
hand and you throw it at bowling pins. So you go there, play a little, you play some games, and we talk about the book and give a nice toast. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's amazing. Okay, so everybody needs to go pick up a copy. It'll be linked in the show notes as well. And you know the drill, Andy. I love to dive into some questions that are fun, get to know you, and also to compare how your perspectives have maybe shifted over the years.
Oh,
This
I
will
like
be
it.
fun to see. So, are you down for some rapid fires?
I am down. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, my first question for you, aside from your own book, Own Your Time, what is one book you find yourself gifting or recommending most often?
Oh, lately I would say Outlive by Peter Attia. I have leaned into this identity of athlete over the past year or so because I've had a lot more time. And I know the importance of taking care of my health as I'm getting older. And so this book is all about longevity, but not in the fact of like, let's see if I can live to 150. It's like, what can you do to take care of yourself so that that last decade of your life
Mhm.
is so comfortable and you're healthy and strong and you're able to be there to bend down and pick up your grandchild when they come up. It's like preparing for old age. And so the exercises and the lifestyle and the philosophies in the book are all about that. And it's really inspired me to take care of my health a lot more because with extra time now that we have, I've been able to provide that in my life. And that'll help me to own more of my time because I'll be able to live longer.
Heck yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
And that's called Outlive.
Outlive by Peter Attia. Yeah. I'd
Nice.
highly
Okay.
recommend it.
Perfect. Okay. What's one location you're dying to travel to?
Japan keeps coming up over and over again. I have a lot of friends that have visited there. I admire the culture a lot, and I want to go and I want to bring my family. I think that could be really fun.
This is the year, man. There's like great deals on flights
Is
everywhere to,
there? Oh, wow.
yeah, I'll send some to you. There's
I'll
some
have to
good
check it
ones.
out. Yeah.
That would be a great place. Okay, my last question for you. In your opinion, what is the secret to financial success?
The secret to financial success is defining what success means to you because there is no one straight definition that works for everybody. I think it's important to discover that personally. And then if you're with somebody and you care about somebody in your life, asking them the same question and then figuring out how you can do it together.
I love it. Andy, it's so good to hang out with you, friend. Congratulations on the book. I'm so pumped for everybody to read this one. It's a good one.
Thank you so much for having me, Whitney. It's great to see you again.